Welcome to the Flux Dev Meeting, July 3rd, 2024. Did anyone have anything to discuss first?
I think we can maybe discuss the caching feature that Sule was working on for the OCI tokens. Can you say more about it, Sule, where we are with the implementation?
Yeah, sure. Hello. So about this, yesterday, Tony approved the pull request that was in package OCI. So the idea was to change the way we cache the credential tokens to make sure we cache once per provider. So this has been merged. The other thing is the implementation that I'm working on the source controller. The way it's done today, it doesn't deal with revocation. So if a credential is revocated somehow, we have no way of dealing with this in the cache. So what I'm doing at the moment is instead doing a refactoring of the OCI, the client in package OCI client, the one that's using Flux CLI. And I'm adding a way to support the cache and to evict keys. So what we will be doing is when we will be using this in the source controller, and when we will have a failed authentication, we can request a new token and evict in the cache using the client.
So this can go directly into source controller, the eviction error, retrying eviction.
Well, we could do this way, but it means we have, because what we do today in source controller, we have a function that use the manager to retrieve a token, and then we just pass it to the reconciler that is using this to do reconciliation. If you want to support eviction, it means that either the manager has to support eviction or something in the reconciler has to do it. But if it's in the reconciler, it means that the manager will be caching, and then in source controller, we could do evictions, and we would be managing the cache in both structure that we would use, I guess. And I think it should be more like a single responsibility. So only one of those should be managing both caching and eviction. That's why I wanted to use the OCI client to do this. I pass the cache to the OCI client. The client would deal with requesting the token, caching, and editing as well.
We discussed about this maybe 2 weeks ago, right? And
yes.
we're discussing about who should do it. And it seemed like it's contextual. So for OCI, it would be different because OCI clients will receive different error codes. And for Git clients, it would be different. So it would be better to have these cache and validation within the client itself. So the OCI client can do it in its own way, where it can deal with, it understands the errors that are temporary, which doesn't require eviction, and errors that are like hard failures and require new tokens. Similarly, for Git, we'll have different error codes. That's what you're trying to implement, right?
Yes. So here the client will be only specific to OCI, and it will deal with everything OCI. And in source controller, we would use it for OCI repositories, custom resources when we want to authenticate the given provider to retrieve anything OCI related. For Git, we would have to deal with it somehow as well. Which also means
Do-
that, yeah, one second, just to finish. It also means that in source controller, we have two custom resources that need this, OCI repositories and Helm chart custom resources when we pull Helm chart from OCI artifact. And it means that for Helm chart, we will have to implement this in the remote builder.
the clients are different. So I was thinking,
Yeah, because for Helm chart we use OAuth. We don't use Google Containers. So anyway, it will be different implementation.
just wanted to ask, what did you implement till now? Like, is it inside the login manager or it's something above that?
I was thinking above in the client that is in package OCI. You know, the client that do pull and push. Today it is used only in Flux CLI to pull and push artifacts. I was thinking we could use it for.
We discussed about this because the login manager just gets the token and doesn't do any transactions. So it has no way to find out if the token is valid or not. Yes. So it has to be implemented somewhere where it's using the token. So pull or push or something.
Yeah.
Where it interacts with the server.
So
in case of Helm, it should be in some Helm client, right?
Oh, we have a Helm client already.
No, because this cache invalidation should happen in the Helm client itself.
Yes. Okay. But the one that we use, because we have a Helm client that is in Helm internal in source controller. Yeah, we discussed this 3 weeks ago, but Stefan wasn't there. So maybe do you have any questions? So those are the 2 topics. So what it means is that the pull request I have in source controller number 1521 is on hold now because I'm refactoring on the OCI client.
Okay. So the refactoring of the OCI client will address both OCI repo?
No, only OCI repo.
Only OCI repo, no, not Helm chart.
Not Helm chart.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's fine. We can. I mean, you can use since last release OCI repo as the source of Helm charts.
Yes.
So
yeah, you can just use it like this, and then we could address the Helm chart part in the following pull request.
Yeah. Cool. I was also looking at KMS authentication through OEDC, which we use in customized controller. And some people have reported that they are hitting some rate limits in Azure KMS. We didn't have any reports for Google or anything like that. It's just Azure. But the problem there is that we can't do anything around authentication. The whole source code of talking to KMS providers is in SOAPs. It's private. It's a private client. So it's either bringing back half of the source code, what he did some years ago, or convince the SOAPs maintainers to give us some kind of hook mechanism so we can, I don't know, yeah, I'm not sure how to how to expose this, but some kind of hook that gives us the token so we can cache it on our own, and then on sequential calls feed the token somehow to subs. So yeah, given this is a major headache, I would not. I don't know. It's something to discuss with the SOPs maintainers
Yeah,
after.
the best would be have some kind of plugin, like we could have a caching plugin that would cache the token and just deal with it. But it means that I don't know if they would have any other use case for that.
Yeah, so I think best is to, after we have source controller, a version of source controller caching for ADC, and we have a good understanding of what the client needs, what are the requirements, we should definitely open an issue in SOPs and present our case and see if they are pro or against it, if they can help us implement it, if we have to implement it, and figure out all those steps. But yeah, it totally means that we have the key service in customized controller, which is not dealing with ADC. It's just dealing with static authentication. When you give the Google Cloud service account or stuff like that, but no, not ADC. ADC is 100% into SOPs. So yeah, that's a major drawback to the scope of the caching. But anyway, just solving it for source controller of CI artifacts is a great step forward. So yeah, thank you, Sule and Sunny, for moving that forward.
I have some more questions around the CI client change. So if I understand it correctly, you are changing in the package repository OCI client package, right? So that client uses Crane from Google Container Registry.
Yeah, I'm removing Crane. That's why it's taking time as well.
Changing remote.
I'm removing Crane. I'm using the remote package.
Okay.
It means that all the options, I have to deal with the options to make sure that I don't break anything in doing this, because we use Crane options and not remote options at the moment.
So current source controller OCI uses remote, and this OCI client will also use remote. So it will be same. Underlying code is very similar. Okay.
Yeah, because our developer, I think, made a contribution a few months ago in source controller. He removed Crane and based everything directly in remote, but no one did it into the OCI client.
Yeah, remote has one major advantage, is the fact that you don't have to download the whole artifact, only the layer that you care of, which, let's say, is not that critical. If people use Flux push artifact, it's only one layer, it's tiny, it's not an issue if you download the whole artifact. But if you attach the manifest to some container artifact, or I don't know, whatever other artifact, can be huge. It makes no sense for source control. Have to download everything just to extract 100 kilobytes of YAML. So yeah, that change was a good optimization for the future, and we should migrate to it in the client as well. Even if right now today, let's say, there is no advantage in using that for the Flux CLI itself, because Flux CLI only produces these tiny artifacts. But yeah, for consistency, we should use it. I don't think the change is that impactful. It's just that we'll break the interfaces, right?
Yeah, and the idea is like if you start using like the client in source controller, you have to use it for everything, but you have to make sure it's consistent.
Yeah, and it also, we can unify the whole thing, right?
Yes.
As in source controller image reflector controller and the CLI should use the same, basically the same.
I haven't
Logic.
looked at, yeah, I only looked at the CLI and source controller. I did not look at the image reflector. I didn't know it was using, yeah, I will have to have a look as well to make sure consistent.
Yeah, so for caching there, so what image reflector controller is doing, he's not downloading any layers. He's just doing
The tag.
list tags.
Yeah.
And for the next minor release for Flux 2.4, it will also do digest discovery. So image policy finds a tag, what Max started,
Max is
right?
working on
And
this. Okay.
yeah, he said he will revive that pull request. We'll see.
Good.
But the operations that image reflector does are the same as source control does when you use assembler for OCI repo, right? Because when you use assembler for OCI repo, what source control does, the first thing it does is list tags,
Yes.
right? Then it does get digest and uses the digest everywhere.
Yes.
So once we have the OCI caching done in source controller, we can reuse all that code in image reflector controller because the operations are the same. And image reflector controller should also cache the tokens, right?
Yes.
It can easily image reflector controller can easily hit rate limits on container registries, right? We have people with hundreds of image automations, image repos, image policies. So for each image, even if it's the same repo, we give me a new token, right? So it must be done there as well if we do it for source controllers, and should
Okay.
look like take a look into image reflector. I think it's a dedicated package that does the listing part. So we could just replace it with the logic in the client, right?
Okay.
So only package will have the list thing and the caching, then source controller and image reflector controller just call that package and we can remove all that code from there.
Good.
Another thing that Ilya, error developer, discovered, and I think it's also he also opened an issue, a bug on source controller, is the fact that we do a list for OCI repo when let's say cosign or when we
Protection.
verify the or yeah, when we verify it, what we do is we don't resolve the digest then, we resolve it later on in the operation. And this is basically an issue if
we use the tag. That's what you mean?
we get the tag, then we don't resolve the tag into a digest, we resolve it into a digest before the when we get to the verification part.
And can
But
change.
meanwhile, you could actually push override the tag, right?
Yeah.
So we should have this operation done there in the listing. When we pick the tag, we should also do the resolve there. It's a minor change, but I think he's right. I mean, we should be 100% correct that, okay, if we discover this, it's actually this digest, let's verify this digest and not risk getting, I don't know, in that period of time, even if it's milliseconds, everything can happen, right? So unifying the client, we could also fix that issue that was reported. Cool. So for Flux 2.4, we have the GA of the image automation. So that means we need to have caching in there and the digest thing.
I wanted to discuss about this GA of image automation. Many months or maybe a year ago, we were discussing about moving image reflector into source controller itself. We are not doing that, the Flux V3.
No, I think what I think we could do is make these APIs GA, freeze the development of both controllers, and start with a beta in source controller that will just replace them. But people will be able to deploy image reflector and image automation in the future for as long as they want, right? We can't deprecate.
Freeze with GA or freeze as it is today.
Freeze as GA. So we release GA, we say, okay,
that
this
version
V1 is stable, we are done with it, this is a done deal.
Then we start V2 of those APIs.
Yes, and the V2 with the beta or alpha,
or alpha,
right? In source controller where we can experiment there and not be under pressure of, oh, now we moved everything, and people, you'll prolong this beta for at least 1 year or whatever, right? I think it's best to go GA with what we have now, along with the digest, freeze the work there, and all the new and shiny thing improvements will think about those, and we'll start with an alpha in source controller.
Okay.
But yeah, that will definitely help also with the work that Sule did on the caching side. So what happens today, right? If you have an OCI repo with a semver expression, every time we reconcile that, we make a call, we do a list, we get all the tags, then we throw them away, right? And we do the same again. But if we move the logic from image reflector into source controller, we could get rid of the badger, the persistent storage. We could use the in-memory cache that at some point can have a dump on the disk, so it can survive restart. And then we can reuse that cache for OCI repo and image repository as well, right? So if, let's say, listing fails, we can use the cache and not fail everything, right? Like how image reflector works today, make OCI repo more resilient by just reusing the caching logic that we have in image reflector. Anyway, there are many advantages to moving things in source controller, but also complicates things a lot, and it will take some time. So that's why I'm really for doing GA of what we have now and rethink a little bit the whole stuff in source controller.
So image reflector controller will manage V1 and source controller will manage V2. Separately.
Alpha, whatever. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Got
basically we'll let people have the choice of, oh no, I want to stay on GA. I'm deploying these two separate controllers, reflector and automation. And once we have the thing more stable, they can just shut down reflector controller, bump the API version, and source controller take over the management of that, right? So it's we don't force them into switching to the new thing if they don't want to or whatever, right? We give them a window of.
And the image update automation would also be managed by source controller in the new version.
This is something up for discussion. The problem with, so image reflector is read-only, right? It doesn't change in any way what source controller currently does. So source controller does listing, does resolves digests. So by moving all the logic from image reflector to source controller, we don't expand the security effects of source controller, the security posture of source controller. But if source controller all of a sudden can also push changes to Git, then even if it's not a change in RBAC, we don't change anything. The security posture of source controller stays the same in the cluster, but outside of the cluster, it changes, right? And that will need an RFC because it's a big change.
Mhm.
I'm not 100% convinced it's the right thing to do from a security perspective. We have to think hard about it, go through an RFC process, but definitely image reflector can be replaced by a single reconciler in source control. And that means running one less pod, taking care of less things, making Flux lighter in a way, without affecting in any way the security boundaries, let's say, of source controller.
One more thing regarding the cache discussion. I wanted to know if Stefan knows anything more about Go object, the encoder decoder that Go already has for Go objects. So for writing our cache data to a file, Sule implemented some custom, what do you call it? Some custom logic
Yeah,
to
I've seen that
encode it.
that serializer. And it was like,
Custom
why?
We talked about it last time. We talked about it last time. I said, I didn't get the time, but what I said is I would look at Go.
Yeah.
You
I
told
wanted to
me
ask
about
if
second.
Stefan knows
Oh.
about it, or is it a good
Yeah.
idea to use that or not? Should we
I
use
don't think
some
I,
JSON?
well, yeah, but I don't think I told Stefan why I did it like this. But yeah, go on.
Yeah,
That's
so
something.
the Go binary format has issues the moment you have pointers in there, right? And the moment you have pointers, you should switch to a different serialization format like protobuf. We definitely don't want to get into the protobuf story, just serialize a file on disk. So it's all about the structure, right? If we can keep the structure free of references, no pointers, we should definitely be able to do a pure binary serialization. Another thing around binary serialization is that it's linked to the Go version.
We discussed about this as well. There is something there that you can avoid this migration. There is something in that package.
Yeah. And also that works if the types are simple, you don't have complex types in there and no pointers and no maps. If you don't have maps in there, which are by default pointers, right? If we can avoid that, we can definitely use the serializer. Now the question is, why wouldn't we want the file on this to be a JSON and we would go with a binary format? Is it about speed, or why are we not considering just doing a JSON serialization? I know it's slow, but do we expect this cache to be that huge? I think the differences between JSON and binary are really tiny, unless you have gigabytes of data. Are we expecting gigabytes of data? I know it's the Helm index, right? The major concern here, right?
The major concern is Helm. Well, the Helm index, I think, in our case, we will never want. Well,
To cache.
Well, cache it. We want to cache it, but in memory. To persist it on this, at the moment, we don't have a need for that because we have the storage implementation. Yeah. And I don't think we will want to change this anyway. But the issue is that our cache package is public. It means that people will rely on it, and at some point, if you provide persistence, people will use persistence, but a lot of people use Flux package. And if you want to provide persistence, I guess we have to provide the most efficient way for our use case, at least the most efficient way.
I'm not that. I think it's should be a balance between efficiency and also usability. If we go with JSON, even if it's not the most efficient thing, people that dump when you dump the whatever is in the cache, other tools can inspect that.
Yes.
If you do a binary dump, it's done. You are limited to only, Go things and so on.
Yeah,
right?
but this cache, we don't know what, because we will have tokens. Well, at the moment, we don't want to process tokens. We want to process only the tags. But we will have tokens if you enable persistent, everyone can persist that. And if you persist sensible data, I think you want binary, not JSON that everyone
No,
can.
you want JSON, especially because other tools like scanners can say, oh, in this unencrypted storage, I found tokens. If you do binary, no scanner will be able to read that. Only the people that are known in
That
there,
knows about
they
it,
will,
yeah.
right? So it's like you make things worse from a security perspective by hiding what's in there, right? If it's a JSON, any tool can pick into it and say, hey, what's this stuff doing here? You shouldn't be persisting this kind of sensitive information, right? So yeah, it's we don't have to decide today, but I think that we shouldn't be focusing 100% on performance, also on, we are aware it's a public package, others may integrate with it. What if can the dump be parsed by other languages, by scanners, by tools? Doing binary will definitely prevent all of that and maybe, not be that good from a security perspective, I would say.
Anyway, the pull request is still there, and this is the last concern. That's anyway ways that is still to be addressed. I will have a look, but not now. At the moment, I will focus on the client.
Yeah, this is not something urgent. We can rediscuss it. I think what's really important is to have OCI repository cache, be able to ship that, and also have it in have image reflector controller to the caching, because that's also a major concern right now for people. Okay. Matthew, I know you, so you got, can we change the subject a little bit? Do we have more things, Sunny, on the caching? So Matthew, I know we've merged your pull request around proxy support in Bucket.
Yeah, I think Sunny just approved it yesterday, right? Yep. But I do have a minor discussion point about the same thing for OCI repository. So it's the same feature, right? Support proxy secret ref for OCI, just like we just did for Bucket. It's just a question about like we plan to support only the generic provider, just like Bucket, right? And I was just looking here at the code of the OCI repository controller, and I only saw decision making in the code using the provider field for the authentication part. And so, for example, there's this snippet of code here that gets the transport for the remote package, right? And it tests if the cert secret ref is new, etc. And it doesn't check the provider. So I think like there's nothing on the code preventing us, like the code allows trying to use cert secret ref with any providers. So my question is, should we do just like the same for proxy secret ref, or put some guardrails? Like, because the structure of the code is slightly different, right? Like in Bucket, we have that switch case where we have each provider and then we put some
because we have different clients, right? In Bucket, basically Azure and Google don't have S3. They have their own thing, right? So we use the Minio client only for generic, and then AWS, Azure, whatever, we use their native clients, right? While we in OCI, look, things are way better. Yeah, we have a single client, works everywhere the same.
Yeah, it's great.
But now the question is around proxying is, if you have a proxy between your cluster and, let's say, ECR, how are you going to use OEDC? Because then you are not running on EKS, you are running
Yeah.
on-prem.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
but oh, what? But
I don't
like,
want to give people expectancy that they can have OEDC and the proxy, because in
but
where are
that's
you going to
possible
do that?
actually. So, for
How?
example, I have this project called GKE Metadata Server, which is it's like I did it. It's the same implementation of GKE for OIDC, and it's a daemon set and everything, and like you can actually have OIDC authentication in on-prem clusters. That's what this project does, and so for example, the thing is, when I was implementing this for the bucket, like the MinIO client, it sends the credentials, even if it's OIDC or if it's, sorry, no, I didn't test OIDC because it's MinIO, right? But like the thing is, the MinIO client, it sends the credentials to the proxy, and in the GCS client, it doesn't send anything. Like if I was able to test with a public bucket in GCS, like it works with the proxy. So like the proxy basically is like proxying a TLS connection, right? It doesn't see the content. It's like the connect thing, right? Um, but theoretically, like the thing is, the source controller pod is the one fetching the OIDC credentials and sending in the connection through the proxy. So it should work. I think it's a problem specific, like it's like a specific problem of the Google client that the proxy doesn't work, you know?
Okay. So if you can have IAM role bindings on your on-prem cluster through, let's say, a daemon set or whatever external things
Yeah,
to
there are
class.
different ways to do that. Like you don't really need a plugin like this, a daemon set. You can just follow Google documentation and it works.
Yeah, okay. So then for OCI repo, let's do the proxying, no matter the name, the type of the provider. Then it's up to the user to figure out how to have OEDC on-prem. And if they have a proxy and OEDC, it should work, right? But we are going to do the testing with a local Docker and Docker registry, verify that the proxy code works, and that's it. I don't think we.
Cool. So we're basically not preventing from it from working with any providers, and we're also not adding anything about that in the documentation, right? Like saying that we only support for this or this other. Just like because we did that for Bucket, by the way. We didn't merge the PR yet, but in the PR
No, it's
I
okay.
added, right? Yeah.
It's okay. There are different clients, different specification, different protocols. We can have different behaviors. A bucket and OCI repo don't have to behave the same. They are not the same, right? It's very, very different storage implementation.
Cool.
Yeah,
So
one thing I was looking at your pull request, and I'm not sure why you are explicit in the docs about HTTPS. I'm guessing because we have support for other type of proxies for Git, right? Is the SOX
you mean like in
file.
the documentation of the field in the struct?
No, in the API docs.
I see. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I basically copied the docs from Git and removed the parts that doesn't make sense for Bucket. It if you're talking about, let me see quick here.
Yeah, you said the proxy server must be HTTPS, but it's buckets are over HTTPS, right? There is no.
Where did I do that? Let me find.
I'll
You
just
mean?
comment on the pull request and you can
Oh,
decide if
oh,
you
cool.
remove
Oh,
it
cool,
or
cool,
not.
cool. Thanks. Is it for the bucket proxy?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see. The proxy server must be HTTP/s, right? I copied that part from the Git
Yeah, because
proxy
Git
for the
also
weekends.
supports SOCKS, right? But SOCKS 5, but that's not the case with
Oh, okay.
other protocols.
I see.
So yeah,
Yeah, so I guess we
that's the only thing.
cool. So we can just remove that, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Will
and
do.
afterwards I'll approve it and merge. This will be for Flux 2.4, so we don't need to backport this pull request to
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
previous miner.
Actually, I wanted to know like what's our timeline for 2.4, because this other for OCI, I think it's on the same roadmap, right? Like we want to ship in 2.4 as well.
Yeah,
So
so we have a roadmap page, and how we do minor releases. We do it after there is a Kubernetes minor release. We need to wait for our dependencies to be compatible with the new client Go and API machinery, and only then we do our own release. So Kubernetes 131 is end of August at latest. Then we have to wait at least 2 weeks for Helm and others to update to 131, and only then we can start thinking about doing our own release, right? So it's autumn
so
for us.
when, sir?
September.
Oh, okay. So we have some time, like it's right for I can focus on this new on the feature for OCI repository, and there's time, right?
Yes.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, we
Thanks.
have like 2 months at least.
Okay. I mean, I I plan on having a first version today.
Did we move forward with your RFC around notification?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of comments there that I didn't address yet. Sorry, I was focusing on these source controller features that we're targeting for 2.4, so I didn't have much time to work on the RFC. But basically it's my turn to like address lots of comments that were already made there.
Cool. Yeah, given that we have Sunny and Sule here, I wanted to, I don't know, ask you, Matthew, if you want to become a source controller maintainer. You did great work in Flux. Maybe notification controller, you also know that project really well. And yeah, if you are okay with it, I think everyone here will be happy to have you on board.
Yeah, it's an honor. I could never imagine.
Cool, great. So, and we are waiting for your pull request to add yourself to the maintainers file in those projects, and I will do after we approve them, I'm going to give you maintainer access on those. What that means, for example, for OCI repo, you no longer have to fork source controller. You can create a branch upstream. You'll not be able to push to main, but you'll clone the upstream repo directly, create a branch for it, push it, and the advantages of doing that is the fact that all our end-to-end tests, which are using, let's say, some secret, will run on the pull request. So you can run the whole end-to-end test suite. We can't do that for external contributors because, well, we can't share secrets outside of the organization. So that's one of the things. And of course, you approving a pull request in those repos will have a green check and someone can merge it being approved by you.
Nice.
Great.
Super cool.
Thank you. Any other things?
I wanted to share that the Reaper tool that we use to clean up cloud resources, I updated the AWS component of it to use the AWS new fork. It's ready, it works. And next, we can merge it, most of the things, but as soon as we merge it, the GitHub Actions will start running things. So I'm not merging it until we are ready to run some commands to create GitHub secrets. So when we do that, we'll merge everything. Other thing I would do is I have another here in the last point. There's a pull request about managing the AWS account management or account user management. So I have documented things and some Terraform code is there, but that's just there. The code is there, but there's no way to run those things. So I write some GitHub Actions, some configuration to run Terraform in GitHub Action, where it would use a remote S3 bucket, which will have the Terraform state, and it will apply the configuration in GitHub Action, through GitHub Action. So state would be in S3. If things go wrong for some reason, it's failing, from locals, from our machines, we can mount or connect to the same S3 bucket and fix things. And again, let the GitHub Action runner continue the fixing things if things go wrong.
So the S3 dependency is for when we provision the account, right? Not when we run the tests, the end-to-end tests.
So there is a separation between the test infrastructure and the account management. So the test infrastructures require a lot of other things. This is user management plus OIDC provider management, like adding GitHub as an OIDC provider, identity provider. Okay. Those things are added through this. And then the test infrastructure, they have their own way of doing things. Those are not managed through this.
Okay. So the bucket is now on my AWS account as private, right?
Will be, not yet. I have to do it. Didn't do it yet.
Okay, but then I have to, let's say in December, the credits will expire. I'll probably have to create a new account. I have to create a new account. We can't reuse the same account because
we can. If we do, I thought we can use it for like 2 times. Anyway, if we do, it's okay.
So we can use 2 codes that AWS gave us on the same account, but all the codes I have, all of them, all those credits expire in December. Have to reach out to them in November, somewhere get some other codes. One, we could still use it on the current account. That will give us, let's say, 2025 summer or whatever. Then I have to delete this account because it will not accept any more free credits. Right? And when I delete the account, the bucket, everything is gone. Right? So then when I create the new account, I first run the Terraform code that provisions the account from 0. It creates the bucket, creates the OEDC setup for GitHub Action. Then I have to run yet again another Terraform module that will give me all the secrets for the end-to-end tests and all the other things that we need, right? So there are basically a two-step provisioning from zero for the account.
I think so. I need to think more about it. I think, yeah. We can also just, it's account related. If we move to Terraform state, it will not work. It has the count.
No. So that's completely gone. Like, forget about it. We can't move anything. We need a procedure.
Right. In a new
I
account,
have
there's
created
no
an
user.
account.
Right. You have to invite everybody again. So fine if you apply from. Should be fine.
Yeah. Another thing that I'm considering in autumn is I could create a new account with a different email, different credit card. Test all the things that it works. It will probably cost me €5 or whatever. And leave that account like that for when this expires, I can just switch all things in GitHub Action to the new one, so I don't have to start from zero. I have it, it's a backup account, right? So the moment they expires or we hit some limit, we can have this backup, which is already set up, it's approved. We have the OEDC stuff already set up there, and I can just switch. Yeah.
Can do it.
And that's also me testing all the things and understanding what I need to do from scratch, because it's every time I talk to it, it sounds more and more complicated. So I'm a little bit scared by all that complexity. I just have to get used to it, and I probably will be fine. Thank you for documenting all of this stuff.
And someday I'll start doing something similar for Google Cloud as well. Because even there we need management, user management, and we don't have any.
Yeah, but at least with Google, we don't have to. We can reuse the account that CNCF gave us. We don't have to shut it down and create a new one, right? So from that perspective, I'm more relaxed on the Google front. But I understand, yes, we on the Google as well, we should use OEDC and not have those long-term service account tokens in GitHub secrets.
And initially, my motivation to move this account management to Git was, or as a code was, to add some monitoring capabilities. Right now, we don't have any way to monitor. Just credit monitoring is there. We don't have other types of monitoring, like using CloudWatch to set some alarm when there are like 10 clusters running at the same time. Even in Google Cloud, we don't have anything. It would be good to have some monitoring alerting. And
anyway, I received today the invoice from AWS is $0. $0, even if we run a bunch of stuff, right? The free credits, when I provisioned the account, now they are gone, but we are now on the AWS sponsored credits.
Wait, say they're gone? What do you mean? Expired?
I mean, all your tests have used the free credits that you get when you create an account. And now we are starting spending from the AWS credits that AWS gave us to do the end-to-end testing.
I think it's based on specific resources. Last month when I checked last month's bill, some resources took credit from the AWS credit we got, not the free tier one. Also.
Some things are not don't qualify for the free tier. I think KMS or something around that. Yeah. Okay.
Any other topic? Adam?
Yep. I pretty much just came to update you that we're still working on it. The fact that we initially planned to we initially had in the RFC a custom mapping by the user. We've moved away from that now, and we're just kind of focusing more solidly on the on more of a default statically defined mapping, like you guys suggested. So yep,
Nice.
we're just continuing on with that. We'll need to. So the table that I have in the RFC at the moment was just kind of like it was like an example draft, pretty much just the first thing I could find. So I need to get together a proper kind of proposal for which Helm events will equal which CD events. So yeah, I'll get back. I'll get that to you as soon as possible.
Thanks.
We can approve it soon once that's ready. Those mapping. That's the only thing left. All the other things look good too.
Yeah, I think it's definitely otherwise seems good.
Yeah, we can. I think I've said it before. We can, if we have a good solution for mapping between Helm controller events and CD events around releasing, because there is that special category of releasing, we can actually make the RFC about that, only about that.
Okay. Yeah.
Merge the RFC, ship
It is, yeah.
implementation only for Helm events. Then have a third RFC of thinking, okay, how can we do it for customized controller where their things are definitely different and maybe people need customization, maybe not. It's more complicated, right? Because there is no install upgrade test. It's always reconciling, right? It's a different
Yeah.
type of thinking. So once you have the Helm events sorted out, I would consider writing the RFC only for Helm, so to speed things up and ship something to users that really want CD events for Helm operations.
Yep, that's doable. Yeah.
Cool.
That's pretty much it for me anyway.
Thanks.
I have one more thing. I think I've only brought this up in meetings where you were not around, Stefan. Stacy is at Stacklock now, and she asked me to evaluate Minder Cloud. I took a look at it, thought it might be interesting for you. It's a AI recommendation engine for repo security and other similar things. Do things like recommend you enable branch protection or things like that. Can I send you some links and take a look?
Yeah, we have this CNCF monitoring, and we run this thing in CI on all our repos that looks at protected branches. Are GitHub actions pinned to digests? Do we sign commits? Do we sign tags? Do we publish releases? It's somewhere. Tons of checks, right? So I'm guessing some of those overlap. If they don't overlap much, we could enable Minder as well. But I suspect they overlap a lot with all the standard things that CNCF requires from graduated projects. So
Cool.
yeah, I'm not sure when I have exactly time this week, but
I think she's interested in feedback. So if there is a lot of overlap, or whether it's worth it to enable it for us or not, just check it out.
Cool.
Yeah. Anything from anyone else?
I have a question regarding something we discussed earlier. SOX 5 support. SOX 5 usually, I don't know if maybe how do you use it? The way I use it is with SSH. Using SSH, you make connection to the other server, proxy server.
Yeah.
In case of Git, we do it because Git client has SSH.
Yes.
In case of OCI, you just have HTTP client. We cannot do SOX 5.
No, same with the bucket. Yeah. So it's SOX 5 is about SSH. We don't have to tell people, oh, it's only HTTPS for bucket. Of course, it's only HTTPS because bucket is not over SSH protocol. only SSH is over SSH protocol. That's why I'm saying we don't have to explicitly say, oh, this
Okay,
is only
I just
HTTPS
started
proxies, because it's like, of course
Okay.
it is. Like you can't connect to a bucket over SSH, right? That's a SSH thing.
But I see
Yeah.
some setups where people do connect one host and another host through SSH and then use Docker client to go through this proxy, SOX5 proxy to pull things. That would be complicated, but people do it.
Okay, but wait, that's different. That's layer 2 proxying, right? Through SOX.
Says SOX5, I'm not sure.
And then the Docker client just goes through the routing, but is not aware it's a SSH proxy there.
It's not aware of it. It's like
Yeah, of course. So
kind
it's,
of VPN alternative.
yeah, exactly. It's a VPN made out of SSH. It's fine, but it's not relevant to the client itself. Like what we are telling people that are using a bucket, you can use a proxy, and of course an HTTPS proxy. We don't care if they have other types of networking or whatever at other layers. It's like this will only work with HTTPS. If you are doing routing layer 4 or whatever with SSH, it will work without any proxy because you already have the routing set up in the cluster. That was my point.
Okay. Okay. Just confused and doing some research.
Cool. Okay, we
anything
are on
else?
time.
Okay.
I see
Anything that
you.
requires review or anything?
Oh, yes, there is. So there is a pull request made by Victor around. So I opened a thread with Victor from GitLab around, help us make the Bootstrap command more friendly to GitLab users using terms that GitLab users know, because we forced GitHub things like organization is not a thing in GitLab. Private public is not a thing in GitLab. It has a visibility flag and so on. So he created a pull request around adding the visibility flag. I request some changes from him. He did it. If you can take a look at it, it's that the tiny bit of code changes, adding a flag, deprecating another one. The idea is we can deprecate flags, but we can't remove them because Bootstrap is GA. But we can issue deprecation warnings and say, hey, if you run Flux Bootstrap with ---- private, take a look at the new flag visibility, which is something that GitLab users understand. Right? So this is just the first step on enhancing the UX of the Bootstrap command for GitLab. If you have the 5 minutes, 10 minutes, look over it. That's the only thing.
This reminds me of another pull request opened by someone at GitLab, I think, in source controller, related to conditions.
Oh,
1369. Oh no, not 1369. Wait. Conditions.
Fixing correct use of format strings.
1529. Right. So I see the problem.
1.5.9.
1529. I was able to reproduce the issue and just go. Any opinion about this? I have seen this issue before, but I didn't know this was the reason for this.
I also saw it with the we also and we also have this issue in the CLI. We need to, yes, I'm all for merging this, but to go in 2.4, no need to backport it. What I think we should do is also search for format in the CLI, because if I remember correctly, a couple of weeks ago, I ran, I don't know, it was half of Flux was down or something like. There were a bunch of errors, and we had the same. I've seen the same
Missing.
escape error, missing. Yeah, it's quite annoying. Yeah, it was a great find. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Let's try and get this merge. I don't know. Shouldn't be that hard to fix it.
Just
But yeah, I have a good point
in-
there, because he just went into using the V replacement, but for some things which we know are strings, we should use the S formatting.
I think that was because initially we didn't have, we had a different error type that didn't have string. Later we added.
Yeah, that was the issue. We started with one error type, then we switched to another, and we didn't go back and change all the formattings.
One more pull request related to Helm in source controller. There is a change in upstream Helm. Where is it? Incorrect use of form. Oh, no, not that. Where's that?
It's the
Migrate 16 or 15, 16 source controller. Migrate issue with chart validation.
mitigate issue with the chart validation.
Mitigate,
Yeah.
sorry. So
Yeah.
upstream Helm did some changes and we don't use the exact code. So if we update, they do not fix it. We have to change our Helm client code.
Yeah,
I
we
think-
we can merge this one. Also put the backport label on it. I'll just merge it now because then I'll
No, the author is about to push on test next week or this week.
Oh, okay.
I thought maybe it's not required because the same code is taken from upstream. You can trust it's tested there, but they want to write it up.
Yeah, it's great if they do. If they don't, we merge this before the release or whatever. I'm not sure we need to do a patch release. I mean, yes, we have one or two
It's
bars
broken.
reported that we backport them, but there are edge cases. I don't know how serious this one is. I'm betting it's an edge case because besides this guy, no one else complain about it. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's worth the effort of doing a whole release for it. But yeah, let's see. After he writes the test and so on, we can discuss it. Maybe we can do a release in August, because people are kind of annoyed by all the CVs in the container images and stuff like that. Or maybe in August, if we have some time, we can spend a weekend and do a release. We have a couple of bug fixes in Helm control, source control, and I think also notification controller. There is a issue with escaping things for Telegram, special characters that can be in a apply error log, and then when we send it to Telegram, it's completely broken because escape of an escape character for Telegram stuff like that. It's minor, but yeah, I mean, if people use Telegram for on-call shifts, it can be annoying because you can't read the whole error message. So that's something to consider for the release, patch release.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all.
Thanks everyone. See you next week.
That's bye.
Bye.